Hello, friends, and welcome to the Bikes for Death podcast. As always, my name is Patrick, and I am your host. Surprise! And on today's episode, Miles and I go on a route scouting, bikepacking adventure a little bit east of Phoenix, Arizona, and at the base of the Superstition Mountains. This is a route called the Queen's Ransom route that was created by John Schilling. He submitted it as a potential route to be published on bikepacking.com. And so Miles and I threw together kind of a last minute bikepacking trip. Very last minute. You'll hear about that in today's episode. But we went in very underprepared with very little information. We had a great time. But we were kind of there for two things. One, to preview this route and see about potentially putting it up on bikepacking.com as a published route. And also, we just wanted to go ride bikes together and have a great time in the desert. And we accomplished both things. So, while we're recording today's episode, we didn't know at the time if it would be a published route until, we rode it and we talked about it along the way. And it became evident that it was a very good route, that John had put in a lot of work and, just a very solid route. So there was no doubt as we kept going on the route that it would be published. So at the time of this recording, you can find this route published at bikepacking.com. Again, it's called the Queen's Ransom route. We'll also link to it in the show notes and have it available up at bikesfordeath.com for you to check out. So today's episode is kind of what I would say some good information intermingled with ramblings from Miles and I. So hopefully this episode will be entertaining and also informational if you're thinking about going out to potentially ride the Queen's Ransom route. Hopefully you'll be able to glean some information from today's episode. I will mention that this is one of the few times, I think this is only the second time I've ever recorded a podcast while on a bikepacking trip. And it's still something I'm learning out how to do as we go. And think one thing I could have done better is kind of narrate the story along the way. So it kind of jumps around a little bit, and part of that is due to the fact that towards the end of day 3, Miles and I separated, and we met back up at the end, towards the end of day 4. You'll hear about all that in today's episode. So yeah. Anyway, it was an absolutely fantastic trip. Great to see Miles, and it was cool to be a part of this project for bikepacking.com. I had nothing to do with it other than being there, and I took some pictures, and those are up on bikepacking.com. And so, that's pretty cool. But ultimately, I was just along for the ride, and it was fun to be a part of the project, even kind of from the sidelines. I love routes, and I love developing routes, and I love to see how other people do it. And it was fun for us, I think, to come in as a Canadian and a Texan to ride what a local created and be able to come and maybe provide some outside perspectives. And, we both came from very different terrain and elevation and climate and everything. So yeah, it was interesting to see how two people from completely different areas tackled the same route. So that is today's episode. But before we get to it, let's take a moment to really give our appreciation to the people who made this episode possible. This was a 16-hour drive both ways to Arizona, plus some Airbnbs and expenses that just come with traveling to do podcasts like this. So your support is greatly appreciated, and they really do help facilitate these types of episodes. So let's welcome our newest sustaining patrons, starting with Jessica Alexander, Chris Hodgkins, Andrew Drury, Dennis Feeney. Oh, Dennis, if you were my kid, I would have named you George. Hopefully someone gets that reference. James Collin, Mark Norford, Marty Johnson, Jorge Callado, Tim Colebrooke, Scott Grossman, and David Gaus. Sweet. Whole bunch of you. Really appreciate that. Your support helps facilitate more and better content. So if you would like to show your appreciation for the body of work over here at Bikes for Death and help us produce future episodes, you can find out more over at patreon.com/Bikes for Death. All right, everybody, let's welcome back Cameron Sanders from Ren Sports back to the podcast. Thanks for coming on, Cameron.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Patrick.
We both know that there's a slew of handlebars on the market, lots of different options, and y'all just introduced your Perseverance bar. What can you tell me about these bars and what niche in the market are they filling?
You know, I drooled when I first got into biking over the Jones bars and those sorts of bars. And, I was really disappointed when I first got them. I know that they work great for some people, and that's awesome. But that 45-degree back sweep on the Jones bars, even though I wanted that accessory loop out front, was just too much for my wrists. And then, Ride Far comes out with something, and there was the kitchen sink with its loop out front. There's a lot of weird, funky bars out there, but every single one of them wasn't right for me in one way or another. So for 10 years, I've been riding funky bars or bars with time trial and aero bar setups or something similar to that. And in every case, I'm left wanting. So the Perseverance bar is basically that 10-year love-hate relationship with weird cockpit setups, just addressing all of my concerns. So I'm hoping that the rest of the cycling, adventure, bikepacking world also finds that they're lacking and need some of the same solutions. What that looks like for me is a handlebar that rides like my favorite handlebars, and then a loop that is more versatile than just a loop of metal out front. The Perseverance bars have a handlebar with 16 degrees of back sweep, 25 millimeters of rise, and 780 millimeters of width. So the bars themselves are 100% what I prefer to mountain bike with. The loop out front is way bigger with much more complicated angles than any other integrated kind of funky accessory aero bar hybrid out there. We'll link to a bikepacking.com article about the handlebar. They're doing a long-term review on it right now. You'll find photos of it in there. And that flare in the front allows you to, A, sit more ergonomically in that loop, but B, if you have a bikepacking bag, like a front roll bag, the aero loop is going to help you secure that. But then that bend in the nose is going to allow you to get your hands around the bars without shoving them between a bag. A lot of these accessory loop bars that are out there just have one loop with no flared angles to them. And if you run a bag with them, it basically means that you have no additional hand positions. It's use it to stabilize your bag or don't run a bag and have hand positions. And I always wanted to do both. So that's what we did with these bars.
Yeah, man. We will definitely link to that bikepacking.com article in the show notes. But if people want to buy a set of these bars, where can they find them?
Yeah, so head over to rensports.com. Right now, the bars are in pre-order, but we'll be shipping them April. Right now, we have a special incentive to pre-order. If you head over to the website, you get 10% off and free bar wrap.
Right on, buddy. Cameron, thanks for coming on the podcast. And everybody else, check the show notes for all that information.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right, everybody. Today we got Kate Gates from Mulberry Gap back on the podcast. Welcome, Kate.
Hey, Patrick. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, man, it's great to have you back. We've heard a lot about Mulberry Gap, and one thing we haven't talked about is a lot of the great bike packing that is basically right at your front door. There's a couple great routes that are already established. I thought today we could talk about the TNGA, or the Trans North Georgia.
Yeah, it is a really phenomenal route that in 2021 just had its 12th annual run. Its official grand start, which is generally the third weekend in August. And it starts at the border of South Carolina and runs across the northern part of Georgia and ends at the Alabama state line. So it's about 360 miles long at this point. about 56,000 feet of climbing. And Mulberry Gap is located about a half a mile off course at mile 212.
I was reading an article on bikepacking.com, and it's been dubbed the Mulberry Trap.
Oh, yeah. Racers kind of came up with that terminology a few years ago just because you're kind of out there in the dead of summer battling a lot of moisture and humidity and some pretty high temperatures during the day and cooler temperatures at night when you're at elevation. We are in a pretty rural area of North Georgia, or a lot of the route at least traverses that. So there are opportunities for resupply, but you really have to kind of time everything just right to get to it. And there is a fair amount of water available on the course, especially in the summer, unless it's a super dry year. But you kind of come out of the woods and lots of hard miles and a lot of climbing and show up at Mulberry Gap, and there are tons of staff and volunteers ready to help you. We've got showers, laundry, hot food with options that are not, prepackaged necessarily out of a convenience store, and taking a nap on a cot or renting a cabin, getting a campsite, anything like that. But it just gives people a chance to kind of reset, chat with other racers that are out there, whether they're at the same mileage point as them, they've already dropped out, or they've already finished and are back at Mulberry, and kind of sharing stories and telling folks what to expect coming forward. It just kind of provides a safety net for folks, and it's just a really cool atmosphere for them all to gather. And so because of all those conveniences and comforts of home, it can make it kind of hard to leave sometimes. So Mulberry Gap then turned into Mulberry Trap.
I love it. You know what I'm thinking as you're talking is the Tour Divide has Brush Mountain Lodge and Kirsten out there,
Yep.
and TNGA has Mulberry Gap. Well, I mean, it sounds amazing. Everybody needs to go and stop in to Mulberry Gap, whether you're riding the TNGA on the race or, even if people want to just go and stay there and have a great bikepacking route right out the front door, you can do an out and back. Where can people go to learn more about Mulberry Gap and maybe book in a reservation with you guys?
Yeah, you can reach us at www.mulberrygap.com.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, Kate. And listeners, check the show notes for more information about the TNGA and how to book your stay at Mulberry Gap. All right, everybody, that's it. Thank you again to all of our supporters and sponsors that make these episodes possible. And before we get to my bikepacking trip with Miles, let's have Miles take it away with the Bikes or Death theme song.
You load up your bike, you ride away from home. You could be with your friends or you could be alone. You ride for a day or maybe more. You just love being in the great outdoors. Everything you need is strapped to your bars, including that new pillow you got from Santa Claus. And then you think, oh shit, to yourself. You left that super lightweight tent on the living room shelf. Bikes or death. Bikes or death. Podcast.
Check. Okay. Yes. So a couple weeks ago, Miles sent me a text. He was like, hey, you want to go on a bike ride in Mexico?
Yeah, I did.
But we wound up landing in Arizona in front of John Schilling's house, about to embark on a little bikepacking trip. So, Miles, what are we going to do?
We are going to put camping gear on our mountain bikes. We are going to ride a 230-ish mile route that John has planned called the Queen's Ransom route. And we're going to take 5 days to do it, and it's going to be delightful.
I can't wait. Mostly single track?
Mostly single track, a lot of single track. We're going east of Phoenix into the Superstition Mountains, kind of like skirting along the bottom of them, as far as I understand. We know next to nothing about the route, Patrick and I, so it's going to be great.
Our plan is we're going very light, bringing very little food, and going to utilize resupply points along the way. And we're going to see how it goes. But yeah, we don't know much. We're just going to go ride our bikes and figure it out as we go.
Talk to you later.
Peace out. Oh, and we're going to be recording and taking you along for the ride. The highs, the lows, and everything in between. By Patrick and Miles. All right, we're about 20 miles in, 19 miles, I think, to be accurate. Stopped at Steak and Stone for some nice barbecue. Took a little bit to go. How you feel, Miles?
I feel like I've had enough steak and stones to last me at least till tomorrow.
And if anybody's interested, Steak and Stone comes from the fact that they cook this, or you cook your own steak on a stone that's heated up to 500 degrees. So you bring it out to your table and you have to cook your own damn steak. It's kind of bullshit.
We opted for the non-self-cooking steak option. You got some sandwiches and a sandwich to go.
Yeah, because we didn't bring a stove or anything to cook with, so we're going to be utilizing all the POIs on the route. So what do we got next, Miles?
Got a little cruise to the bike park in Mesa, and then we're going to hop on our first section of single track trails.
30 miles to camp. Let's do it. It's just riding bikes. Okie dokie. Well, it's 6:45 on day one, and we made it right at about 40 miles, something like 2,000 something feet of climbing, and found a pavilion to sleep under tonight. It's quite nice, and it's worth mentioning that the weather today was like perfect, 71, maybe a high 70, and right now it's like 56 degrees, and it looks like it's going to be an excellent night. Before we talk about today and how today went, we thought it'd be a good idea to kind of give y'all an overview of where Miles and I are both at kind of physically and where we're coming from. Because one thing that I think we all know is that rating systems, when you see it online, are a little bit ambiguous because we're all at different fitness levels, and depending on the time of year, for example, this route in the summer would be a completely different route than when we're riding it. What are we, mid-December now? So, I think it's worth putting in context kind of the weather, what our personal levels of fitness are, and we'll talk a little bit about our gear setup and our bikes and what we brought on this trip, just to give an overview, a little idea of what we're doing, and maybe that'll work for some other people. Miles, why don't you start? Why don't you start with your, what kind of shape are you in? And where are you coming from?
So I've been kind of the last few months in Powell River, it's been super rainy, so I haven't been riding my bike like long distance really at all. So like my last like big long distance trip was that Tree to Sea route that I scouted on Vancouver Island. But since then, it's been super rainy. So I've been doing like short day rides more than anything else. But to supplement that, I've started doing a little bit of running at a track near my house, and also start going to the gym, doing some CrossFit, if you can believe it. And then I've also been going to yoga once a week, a hot yoga class. So although I don't feel like I've been on my bike as much as normally, I'm, I feel overall like fitter, to be honest. Maybe not my like endurance, but overall I feel like just better. Over to you.
Let's see. Well, I've been doing yoga 5 times a week. Started doing heat, cold shock therapy. I've been doing Wim Hof breathing techniques. I've really put my heart and soul into training for this. None of that is true.
I believe you.
None of that is true. I'm coming from 200 feet sea level, and really coming off an entire year of not riding as much as I would like to, as much as I hate to admit that. I was able to do a decent amount of training leading up to this. I think we had about 2 weeks, but when Miles kind of put the bug in it went from Miles saying, "Hey, do you want to do this?" how long did it take us? Hours before within a matter of hours, Miles is booking plane tickets to Arizona. So 2 weeks ago, I started, training and loading up my bike with all the gear and riding it loaded. But, one of the challenges that I face coming from Texas is like, we don't have hills. We don't have elevation. We don't even have good single track that I could go and, put in like tons and tons of miles. So my training and what I do, 99% of my riding in Texas is just gravel roads and pretty flat at that. So I'm definitely coming into it with less overall fitness. And I feel like, honestly, coming into it, I've felt concerned about my ability to do it. So I guess we'll kind of see how I do and how we all fare on the thing. But yeah, we'll talk about how we did on day one and how we're feeling. But first, let's just talk about our bikes real quick. I guess I'll do mine real quick. We're actually on pretty similar setups. We're both rocking titanium frames. Oh, you're steel. Okay, Miles is steel. I'm titanium. Front suspension, I recently put on curvy bars on mine with ergon grips, and I'm liking that combo, really comfortable. And I'm carrying 3 liters of water. Actually, I'm carrying 3 liters. I got 2 in a canteen on my down tube. I have 1 liter in my frame, and then I have an additional 1 liter platypus that if we needed some extra water, I have that as a backup. A couple of pieces of gear that I bought actually specifically before this trip was the Rockgeist Fusion. It's their seat back. I guess it's their Mr. Fusion actually, but it's their seat pack. And I have to say I'm absolutely in love with it because if you're not familiar with it, has a frame and it is... So it just keeps everything so solid. We were over all kinds of gnarly stuff today and nothing's moving around or anything like that. And I also picked up the Rockgeist Horton, the feed bag, which has been pretty sick. It's nice because I find that I'm always like jamming food into my frame bag and I'm always like ramming it into places. And having a dedicated place for the food, I'm actually quite liking it. And I thought it would move around a lot more, but it's like all pretty tight in there. I'm running 2.6-inch Maxxis Recon tires, and really happy with that choice. I would like some more gearing. I'm running 11 to 46 with a 28 on front, which sounds great, but I was riding behind Miles, and he's got a 32 with the Eagle, a 32 on front with Eagle on back, and man, he's soft pedaling. I'm like smashed on the pedals, so I'm like, God dang it, I got to get Eagle now. Yeah. We packed very, very light. So our strategy for this ride, other than kind of skimping on water, which I won't personally do, we didn't bring a stove. We don't plan on cooking any food. We're gonna go light in that regard and utilize all the POIs, the resupply points on the route because there's plenty to do that. And, I don't know. I like that style of bike packing because it really just simplifies it. It's less to do in the morning, less cooking, less cleanup, and it's just kind of easy. So, I think that's it. Oh, that's good.
So, I'm on a steel hardtail. My bike's a little bit different. Like geometry wise, our bikes are different. Yeah. Way different. So I'm like on a pretty like slack and super long hardtail mountain bike with I think 140 or 150 mil fork up front. So like it's definitely, this bike is designed to go downhills. From what I understand, Patrick, your bike is like a little bit more versatile. It's going to be like equally good for climbing and descending, and like a little bit tighter, a little bit more nimble. And I think we're already seeing that actually, like because there were some tight trails today where like my bike felt ginormous.
I was whipping.
Yeah, you were whipping.
I was whipping.
I have a little rear rack, one of the tumbleweed rear racks mounted on the back, and I just strapped a dry bag to the top of it so my dropper post isn't affected. And then I have a handlebar roll and a frame bag. I'm carrying 3 liters of water, just like Patrick. I don't have any extra Oh, I guess I have room in my frame bag for water if I need to buy some more stuff. But yeah, no stove. Although we didn't bring a stove, and we're pretty light because we're not carrying like food to cook and stuff, so we're just like eating on the go. We both brought some pretty warm gear because we kind of expected the weather to be colder. It isn't cold right now. What is it right now? 56 Fahrenheit right now. But I brought like my winter puffy and like my like cold weather sleeping bag, which is pretty big.
Oh, I remember what I was gonna. Okay, we had a question from the fans, and they want to know because we had someone that said they were an overpacker, and they wanted to know what is a luxury item that we brought. So I'll start. Again, not too many. Now, first, I will quote my friend Matt Mason and say that every item is a luxury item. And I agree with that. So, but I get the point of the question. I mean, there's kind of the bare essentials to keep you warm and, hydrated and those things. So mine is definitely the chair that I'm sitting in now, the Helinox. I don't know. It's the light one. Just recently started carrying a chair. I mounted to the down tube. It's always out of the way. It weighs less than a pound, and I'm so happy sitting in it right now that I think it's an old man thing. It's just getting older. And I almost didn't bring a flask of whiskey, but I decided to bring a little flask, so I do have that as a luxury item. But I think everything else is pretty much purposeful for the trip. Other than that.
I feel like I'm always a very purposeful packer because I rarely bring like alcohol or anything like flask. I feel like that's a common luxury item among bike packers. It's an easy one. It's like small, it's light, packs a punch.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't often do that. I think on other trips I would like pack like a cold pop for at night. Like if I had a Coca-Cola right now, I'd be pretty excited.
Yeah.
So to be honest, I think my luxury item for this trip in particular is kind of like my whole sleep system. It's just like it's overkill in every direction for what we need. Like we are in the best conditions. It's like not too hot during the day. It's just cool enough at night, so far at least. And I think I could have not had a tent. I probably could have brought like a slightly lighter sleeping bag and probably could have brought less layers too. Like I have long johns and I don't really think I need them. Although Patrick is wearing his.
I like to be warm. I'm not used to the Canada cold like you are. No, go ahead. Why don't you, you know the route better than I do. Why don't you start with a breakdown of the route and then we can talk about, sections we liked or how hard it was or whatever.
So, the Queen's Ransom route, John Schilling designed it, and we're pretty much just following the route exactly. So it starts like east of the city of Phoenix in Arizona, kind of close to Apache Junction, but a little bit south from there. Right away, it hops on like paved paths that were like kind of zipping between houses and like going through neighborhoods. Just like paved sort of multi-use walkways, double track sort of situation. And we were on those for a pretty long time before we connected to the canal trails, which take up like a big chunk of the today, like 20 miles or something like that on canal trails, which are like flat. Miles. You just cruise around kind of through the city and eventually get to more outskirts. And then that leads into the trails, which we kind of rode for the past few hours before camp. What did you think about the first section before the single track?
Good question. Well, there was kind of two sections. There was the first section. The way he has it routed now is literally from his front door. So I don't know if that's the way it'll get published in the real world. But the way it's routed, going through all these like pretty nice neighborhoods, really good bike infrastructure. You go through a golf course. I quite enjoyed it. It was the weather, like we said, has just been perfect, and we were singing and whistling, and we were definitely excited and looking forward to the trip. Then we got to the Canals, which at first I think we both found a little bit frustrating because we talked about this, and this is one of the interesting things when you come and ride a new route is that, I'm coming from Texas. We don't have canals. I have no idea what the rules are and the legalities. And in this one, there was like 2 canals, so you could ride in like in between them or on the left or the right, and there was gates and all this kind of stuff. And so I think in the beginning, until we really kind of got the rhythm, and essentially the answer, what really solved the problem is you really have to follow the route closely and zoom in, because what we found is that you're going to be, what do we call it? Zigzagging. I can't remember. Getting jiggy with it. Yeah, you'd have to get jiggy with it and, go to the left side or the right side of the canal. And so, but once we knew that and we would come up to one, it kind of became fun. It's like, is this the one that we're not going to get by? We did come to one that we that was kind of fun, that we just went. And this is when we kind of figured out, but we were on the wrong side of the canal, came to a gate that we absolutely could not pass. But there was a hole in this fence to get into the soccer field. And so Miles has good ideas. He was like, we should just go through this. And I said, yeah, that's great. And so what we did is we did a lap around the soccer field. There was no holes in the fence anywhere else. And then we had to circumnavigate around it. But really, I mean, the whole thing probably put us off like maybe 7 minutes or something from the route. So
I think it was longer than
maybe
that.
It was. I was trying to be nice.
I think it was probably like 20 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. I was trying to be nice. Okay. And then if we're talking about the first section, I would say like the first 20 miles kind of ends at this bike park, which is absolutely amazing. Purpose built, jump track, pump track, huge gap jumps, like X Games big in my mind. I mean, it's just like, whoa. So Miles and we played around on the pump tracks, and that was quite fun enough. And then, hit on the single track. But before we did that, at mile like 19 or 20, we stopped at a barbecue joint called Steak and Stone. We mentioned that, but yeah, we got the exact same thing. Pulled pork sandwiches with sweet potato fries for lunch. And then we both got a beef tri-tip sandwich to go, and we just ate those, and they were amazing. And then we'll just ride in and get some breakfast in the morning. Okay, your turn.
Single track. So it was pretty much all single track from like our late lunch to our campground. So the first trail system, this is kind of like up near north of Apache Junction now. I think it's called Apache Wells. So the first trail system that we hit was the Haws Trail systems. And that was it started off pretty easy, like kind of like greens and easy flowy blues. It was actually super fun at the beginning. And then we got into some harder kind of trails that we started making our climb up and over to the trails that are on the other side of the highway in the Usery Mountains. Yeah, so like kind of in the middle of the Haws Trail system, it got a little bit technical, and I think that was when kind of like the hottest point maybe of the day too. So I think we were both like kind of hit us off guard. I don't think we were ready for it because the first part of the day was pretty easy. And then it got easier again as we've moved over to the Usery Mountains on the other side of the highway, and that's like getting pretty close to like Apache Junction proper. And we were planning on going a little bit further to a campsite, but we had a late start, so we ended up at a trailhead, and there's pit toilets and running water, and we found a little.
There might have even been a shower in there. I didn't really.
There might be a shower. And now we have 2 picnic tables. We each got our own picnic table. And yeah, that's pretty much today. Tell me about your experience with today, Patch.
I would love to. I would love to tell you about my experience today. First off, riding with Miles is a pleasure. He's always happy. He's always excited about everything. You know, every view is spectacular, and I love that. And enthusiasm it goes a long way whenever you're out here. I think the way you described the single track was pretty good. It was funny. Ben, we can put this on the after party episode, but there was we did the first part of the single track, and it was just like perfect. I was like, oh man, today this is like going to be really good. And so I thought it would be a good time to take 20 milligrams of edibles, and that's when Miles said it started getting like hot and pretty more technical. I think we're talking intermediate trails was like the hardest thing we rode. Man, we are here at such a great time. It just rained last week. They said it was super dusty, but it's knocked down the trails. The trails are so nice. There's rocky parts, but not like annoying rocky, just nice, just really nice trails. It's just beautiful desert riding. The saguaro cactus, the mountains around. There's beautiful mountain ranges with just a diversity of like shapes and colors. I mean, it's just absolutely stunning scenery. The trails are really top notch. So yeah, really, really happy overall. I found today challenging, but not overly challenging. But it's not for any other reason than riding single track is more challenging than riding a road or gravel. You know, I mean, there's a lot more going on, especially when you got cactus on either side, and you really got to control your bike and make sure that you got the right line. But no crashes today, eh? No. Yeah, I felt good. So yeah, I found today challenging, but really none of it was overly challenging. I found it challenging from my personal fitness standpoint, but overall, I absolutely enjoyed the total route. I enjoyed today thoroughly. Yeah, 100. I'll give it 10 out of 10.
I'm also gonna award today a 10 out of 10. Yeah, there's like just enough like there's like a few like kind of like hard climbs, like pretty sustained climbs, and like a few little short technical sections that like it's going to keep like everyone on their toes. But I would say like the vast majority of it is pretty like flowy. Not to say like you can't get like washed out on a corner or something and send yourself face first into a cactus, but really it's all like pretty flowy and not a crazy amount of climbing. Like there was a good amount, but nothing that's going to make you puke. Well, you might puke if you ate a big breakfast.
No, I didn't ever feel like puking today. I needed to stop and catch my breath at different points. Definitely, I had some hike-a-bikes in there, but I definitely rode a lot more than I hike-a-biked. And yeah, I'm ready to just chill and go to sleep soon. And our game plan going forward. Let's talk about tomorrow. Mm-hmm. We're thinking our plan is to go about 40 miles tomorrow. Should be just about all single track. And our name of the game is just going to get up and get rolling because we don't got to make breakfast or anything. And we want to today. I mean, that is the one thing that was kind of a negative is I don't even think it would have been as challenging if we approached it the way we wanted to, which was take our time. We both love taking pictures. You know, there was lots of opportunities where I probably would have stopped. I think you would have too and taken a picture, but I didn't today. And we did take plenty of pictures, but yeah, I would have taken more. Yeah, it was a little rushed. So tomorrow. No, we did not bring night riding equipment, but I think after today we did get a late start today. But after today, early starts all day long. What could go wrong? All right, night, everybody. Catch you on the flip side. Miles and Patrick out. Okie dokie, Miles. Morning of day 2. How'd you sleep last night?
Last night was a pretty exciting night. I didn't sleep very well. I think you slept a little bit better than me because I heard your snoring. But we set up with like semi-clear skies and some stars, and it was beautiful. And then partway through the night, there was like a little bit of rain, and we were like, okay, we were dealing with it. And then it turned into some very windy conditions, and things were blowing around. My tent was barely standing upright. Your pad deflated. Yeah, it was restless for sure. But we're here at Wind Cave Trailhead. It's bumping. There's tons of cars here already, and it's like around 8 a.m. And we're going to get cruising here shortly, I think.
Cruising for a bruising. Yeah, I think it's funny that he said I slept well on a deflated mattress. But yeah, so I got the opportunity to sleep on concrete last night, which I can now say I've done, and I don't want to do again. So one of the things we're going to be doing today is looking for a patch kit. First, we're going to look for the hole, and then we're going to look for the patch kit. And I think we've got about 26 miles till we get some food. Let's go eat.
All right, Miles reporting in from the AZT, the new water cache that's up on the top after the big climb out of Picket Post. This is all new terrain for me. I beelined it from where Patrick and I split up and got most of a good chunk of the climbing in, definitely the rideable climbing in daylight, and then I pushed for a few hours and rode for a little bit up until I got to the top. It's 8 o'clock right now, 8 p.m. So pretty good timing. Had myself a hamburger that I bought from the town before. Ate some mini donuts. I've got water here that I just need to purify for the morning, and then I'm gonna boogie on out of here. I'm tired. I'm super tired. That was a big climb. It was definitely wasn't easy. And I was singing to myself the whole time. Didn't see anyone else out here. But it's a good little spot. Yeah. Talk soon. Woo! All right. It's 8:30. I've been riding for, I don't know, about half an hour. I've left the water cache filled up there this morning. Ate some mini donuts and some beef jerky for breakfast. And now I'm kind of traversing through this huge canyon where the AZT goes through Picket Post. It's beautiful. The sun's just kind of creeping up over the mountains now. I can see parts of the city, kind of city outskirts in the distance, and a whole lot of nothing the other direction. And once in a while you can see the trail like creeping up. It's it's spectacular. Hard though. I've already done a fair amount of pushing this morning. Okie dokie. Miles out.
It's a nice night.
Yeah.
Okay. I love.
No.
How about I just ask you questions?
We'll just start with like the hard single track. Remember when the single track was because it was all like horse trails, right? It was smooth in the morning.
I think we should just go back and give a quick recap. We don't have to like get.
Yeah.
But do you want to tell about like everything that what happened, or are you trying to?
No.
Are you trying to like omit some stuff?
No, let's not omit stuff.
I don't want to omit
I was just
anything.
thinking of highlighting the most important things. And then I was trying to remember what actually happened because I don't remember the storm. Then we had smooth single track. Then we had hard single track.
Yeah.
And then it was hot. Or it wasn't hot really that day. It was kind of cold.
It was weird. That day it was hot and cold.
Hot and then cold.
Yeah. Depending on the time of day.
What else happened after that?
We got to that gold camp,
Oh, yeah.
which is kind of cool.
Yeah, the gold camp was kind of
Oh, no,
fun.
the ghost town.
Ghost town. It was like a kind kind of a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
And-
it was like, when I say kind of cool, I mean literally kind of cool. Like, if you're going by it, you might. We stopped and got the burgers, and that was good. I know we had chicken sandwiches.
Yeah, chicken sandwiches.
Yeah.
And then
We used the restroom.
we used the restroom. And then I rode that section. I forgot that we split up there.
Yeah.
I rode, what was that section called? It was from, what was the state park called?
I don't remember.
Me neither.
Well, we can edit that in later. Peep, 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 peep. Yeah, but anyway, you went through like the legit route, and it was black, and I legitimately just wasn't feeling up to it. The single track from the day really took a toll on me. The first 5 miles of single track was so much fun. We woke up that morning and I was so happy. We started the day with a good workout. You got in a good workout on the exercise equipment at the park.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
But no, it started off good. But man, that was, I mean, I think we said to ourselves that there was no respite. There was no opportunity for a break, uphill, downhill. I came off my bike, I think 3 times, not completely going down, but yeah, it was just gnarly, really rough single track that, we saw a guy out there on a full suspension 29er, and that's kind of what you think when you're thinking about trails like that. And I mean, it wasn't too long, but it was probably a good 10 or 12 miles.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I feel like we were about 27 miles in when we got to that fake gold camp.
Yeah, ghost town.
Yeah, completely fake ghost town. But anyway, yeah, from there we split up. You did. So how was that hard trail? How was the actual trail?
It was pretty chunky. That was
Here,
the one.
I gotta put a log on the fire. Throw another log on the fire.
Ooh, baby. So we split up near Lost Dutchman State Park by the ghost town, the tourist ghost town. And then I hopped on, you took like side roads, right? Did you ride gravel at all?
No, it was literally like an 8 mile like ride into town on some nice like 25-mile-an-hour residential roads, basically.
I rode Jacob Crosscut Trail, which is I think it's like 5 or 6 miles back into town. And then I hopped onto some weird blue trail that was like super chunky and like super rocky into town. And then I met up with Patrick and we got Subway. And then we were both pretty tired from that day. So then we pretty much jumped on the opportunity to get a hotel room.
Well, there's a couple factors here. One, my air mattress still would not inflate. So part of the reason why we split up was so that I could get into town early and start trying to repair the air mattress. But it was kind of funny. I set up underneath this tree outside of a gas station or a grocery store, and there was a family on one corner of the parking lot asking for money and had their baby and stuff there. And then I was on the other corner set up with my air mattress trying to fix it, pouring water on it. And I'm sure I was quite the sight. People were probably like, what is that guy doing? But yeah, I messed with that thing for 30 minutes, like pouring water on it, and could not find it. And then we went to Subway, and you had also found out that there was a wind storm and a rain, like rain and wind. There was like 50-mile-an-hour winds that night because his friend like messaged him and was like, "Hey, just FYI, I staked down your tent really good tonight." So anyway, we decided to get a hotel room, partly so we could find the leak in the mattress, and partly so we could avoid getting blown off the mountain in a windstorm, and I'd be sleeping on the freaking ground. So we elected to take a hotel, and honestly, I think we both thought it was the right call. What do you say, Miles?
100% the right call.
100%. And I did find the leak in my mattress, and we did patch it. So all is well. Day 3 was supposed to be a big day. We were starting off about 13 miles behind where we should have camped. And God, I can't remember. It was mostly like uphill. It was like kind of flat most of the day, or like the first part of the day, and then it was going to go uphill for a while. Oh, and that was that nice single track. That was that fun. That was Gold Canyon.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah, so we went up into Gold Canyon, and John told us that we were gonna like that, and we did. And I'll tell you why I liked it. It was like a roller coaster through saguaro cactus. There was cactus everywhere, super rocky, but it was just like up and down out of, I think, like dry arroyo beds and creek beds and beautiful. I think those were the Superstition Mountains all around us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? Day 3?
Day 3.
The one I was just talking about, Gold Canyon.
Yeah, that was super fun. Yeah, Gold Canyon was great. Was that also where they had like some of the like bee lines and stuff?
Yeah.
Right?
You were taking some gnarly stuff.
Yeah. That was super fun in there. It just felt like we were mountain biking.
Yeah. We were legit mountain biking with bikepacking rigs. It was kind of radical. It was way outside anything I've ever done, and it was awesome. But you were taking on some more challenging descents with your raked out front end. You got crazy.
That's true.
That crazy miles came out.
What
That's all that British Columbia single track.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
Oh, that's what I was reading in your gear review today. You were talking about staying local has like caused you to kind of start honing your like mountain biking skills, and like you've been starting to push your limits and stuff like that, which I thought was interesting. It was definitely on display yesterday.
Yeah. It's it definitely helps when you like only ride hard, slippery, rooty, steep trails in British Columbia. I'm trying to think of what else happened on that day.
Well, I mean, that's where we got to the golf course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we rode that until we got to double track, and then I threw up.
Mm-hmm. That's when the throwing up started.
That's when the throw up started. That's
the beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end. Yeah. Yeah. So, it started with not eating breakfast. The breakfast at a hotel was absolutely hideous.
Questionable.
I couldn't stomach it, literally.
Let the record show that I did eat the breakfast.
Miles did. But he shat it out almost immediately, so I don't know if it counts. Just because mine came out the other end. I think it's par for the course. But regardless, I was essentially putting out more calories than I was able to take in, and I was depleted. I mean, by the time we got to the golf course, I think we were about like 30 miles in on the day. I had no calories in my body at that point, you know? I mean, everything that I had consumed, I threw up.
Yeah, you were looking weak.
Yeah, I was feeling weak.
And tired.
Yeah. So, but can we talk about, what was the name of that town? Because I loved it.
Didn't it say, like, miners camp or something on?
Queens Valley.
That's Queens Valley?
Queens Valley. Look, or Queen Valley. Queen Valley.
Oh.
Yep, Queen Valley.
Boom.
Got it. Boom. So please Google this town, or if you ride through this route. I thought it was awesome in a weird David Lynch kind of way. Like all those people were robots or something.
Yeah.
It was essentially a golf course and houses around it, and every single resident was either at the restaurant, the gas station, or playing golf.
Yeah, it was weird. The grass was so green. We were in the middle of the desert. Everyone was happy and white and well off.
Yeah, nothing was in place.
No.
It was all like out of sorts.
And then, yeah.
That's when I broke the news. Did you know it was coming?
Yeah, because we kind of talked about it earlier. You talked about potentially like cutting off earlier, I think, didn't you? Because I kept on saying, oh, just wait until you get you some food in you. Remember? Or is that just right then?
Yeah.
It might have been when we went to the convenience store first or something.
I think it was right then.
And then you might have mentioned it, and then I said, oh, just wait until you get some food. And then we got some food, and then it didn't change the situation.
I'm trying to remember, what time was that? Was that Subway time? No, what time was that? That was, at the golf course.
Yeah, at the golf course.
At the golf course, yeah. Yeah.
And then, so...
It does all run together.
We decided to part ways. You weren't feeling so hot. You need some break from the Arizona Trail. And then, so I rode, because I know I didn't want to spend much time on my bike in the dark. I, like, beelined it super fast. I went into race mode to try and make use of the already, like, it was already probably, like, what, 1 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock?
Yeah, it was 2 o'clock. That was part of the problem. We had 3.5 hours of daylight.
Yeah.
And I had negative 3.5 hours of energy.
But we made it to our respective destinations. I was on I rode the picket post section of the Arizona Trail, and I made it up the big climb. I forget how big it was, but it seemed big.
So you essentially went up and over the biggest climb, and what you did yesterday and today was the hardest part of the entire route, and that was part of, well, I think you should speak to it, but in terms of, if you're looking on the map, it's further out there, it's less resupply, and a lot more elevation. I mean, the two biggest climbs are on that section.
Yeah.
And I was looking at myself, and I'm like, okay, this is where people like get in trouble. Like, I'm already calorie deficient. I'm tired. Like, just going further into this doesn't seem like the right call.
Yeah.
And also, I was slowing you down, and I know you wanted to unleash the beast.
The beast got a glimpse of Arizona.
Yeah.
Today, and he liked what he saw.
You think you'd like ever sign up for the AZT?
No, I don't think so. I'm gonna save that to when I'm a little bit older, so I feel like I won't be distracted by like a text message or something. Also, I don't think racing makes much sense for me because of my Crohn's.
Yeah.
I can't pack that lightly because I got to bring some toilet paper.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not.
Well, plus, I was thinking about it today. One of the things that, and part of the reason why I'm glad that I did what I did, it allowed me to today, whenever I essentially, like, I guess I should say what I did but I rode from that Queen Valley down to Florence, taking like this 55-mile highway. It was quite fine. It was like 22 miles to get there, but it was all like paved and quite nice, and stayed in a hotel. And then this morning I went into McDonald's, loaded up my food bag. I literally shoved as much food as I could possibly fit, and I fit 6 spicy McChicken sandwiches and 6 cheeseburgers from McDonald's in my Rock Guys Hortons, shout out. And dude, I was thinking about it, and I'd like to get your thought on this, but like the fact that I came this way and brought you food was kind of like a good thing, it seems like, because going that other way is pretty sketchy.
Yeah, I think it was the best decision, because I got here with like really not a lot of food left. So I kind of needed food anyways. Yeah, otherwise, I don't know what I would have done. I probably would have, if, like, say you weren't here right now on this trip, and I was doing that, and I ended up here at the time I did today, like around, what, was that 3 or 4?
No, like 4:30. Like, yeah.
I probably would have just kept on going to get into Florence because I probably would have been very sick feeling if I didn't eat any food.
Yeah. After already doing like 60 miles today, and he did like 73 yesterday or something crazy.
It was hot too. Those are very like exposed sections. So I feel like I was in like direct sunlight all day long for both days. So I'm just like so like zapped feeling right now.
Yeah. So I had this idea about route guides. I was thinking about it today. And instead of like doing just a rating, like 1 through 5 or whatever, I thought about it in a couple of different ways. Like, you know, you may enjoy this route if you enjoy, you know, extreme bikepacking, or it would be on a scale. Like, you know, it's like touring bikepacking here, extreme bikepacking here. You know, where does it fall on the elevation scale? You know, if it, where does it fall on the climbing scale? Where does it fall on the resource scale? Like, but it have all these, like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, have like ratings for like all these different things, and you'd be able to see like quite easily how all these different routes stacked up, because routes are so complex. Like, you know, I think, you know, I could do this route with some more fitness. Like, I have the technical, I have the equipment, I have the know-how and all that stuff, but I didn't bring enough fitness to do this. But like today, riding back to meet up with you, I had a blast. I was having the time of my life. I stopped and took 1.5 million pictures, you know, and I'm having the time of my life. And like, for me, that's part of the experience that I enjoy having. And it's part of what was missing on the first part of the trip for me, was that I was so wiped every single day.
Yeah.
Like day 1, day 2, day 3, I was putting in not 100%, you know, I mean, we weren't in like race mode, but I mean, I was giving it, you know, and I wasn't taking as many pictures as I wanted. And it's like, you get in, we were getting in every single day at dark or after dark. And so, you know, you can't like explore camp and hang out and go on a little hike or anything like that, you know?
Yeah. Like, we're doing this in 5 days. I almost feel like it'd be nice to have way more.
Yeah.
Like, I think like doing this in like 7 days would like allow for a lot of like exploring and stuff, like you said. Because there are like the ghost town, we could have hung out there for a bit. That was funny.
But I think that's kind of my point about the rating system, is it's kind of like, what kind of experience are you looking to have? Do you want to go and take pictures and explore, or do you want to go and just like pound out the miles and see as much as you can? Today, actually, I mean, I told myself a couple times a day, I was like, slow down, you're going too fast, you know, like just like stop, like not stop, but I just like slowed down and like really enjoyed it, just soaked it in, you know, like, and your experience on the other hand, I mean, it's still, yeah, your experience sucked. Mine was awesome. I don't know, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's,
I think it doesn't have to be right or wrong. It's just different. And I think that's the way I think it would be cool to put routes in a different perspective. It's like, how are you wanting to, what do you want to get out of it? Or how do you like to, what kind of riding do you like to do?
Yeah, in the end, I think that's just like a good reminder for people to like research routes more, really. I don't think either of us really look too far into this route at all, really. You did a quick run through like for some points of interest and stuff, and that was helpful. But like, neither of us really, I feel like, knew what the terrain was going to be like.
No,
I didn't.
I was trusting you.
Yeah. And I didn't know. I guess though, that's the thing, like we're from places outside of Arizona, and like Arizona, the Arizona Trail and like the conditions are pretty well known for like Arizona based bikers and bikepackers, probably. I feel like, because it's like a big deal.
Yeah.
Where we had like no idea. I know the Arizona Trail's tough.
Yeah.
I've definitely heard that, but
I said this year's like one of the toughest ones yet.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah. Yeah, who knows? Whatever. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
It's it's all fun. I love it. I love it all. And I think I enjoy adventuring, and this has been quite an adventure. It's not over yet. We got tomorrow, but making decisions on the fly, figuring out reroutes or whatever, and just kind of like living on the go. It's fun, It's out of the comfort.
Yeah.
Out of the comfort zone. Speaking out of the comfort zone, that hotel I stayed in last night, across from the penitentiary. Ooh, it was nice.
That's so funny.
Oh, what else?
Not much really. We're camped. We're camped in a little.
We're right up above an arroyo.
Yeah, that's where we are.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful spot. It's like pretty open. So there's like not too many pokey things trying to poke us close by. We have our little sleep systems. I've got a tent. Patrick has his bivy bag there. And we're just chilling, really. The moon is so bright. Practically a full moon.
Yeah.
Stars are out.
Oh, I forgot to tell you, on night one when it was raining and shit, before all the rain started happening, I saw a huge ass fucking shooting star, like a fucking beach ball size.
What?
I was like, I couldn't believe it, man. It was so cool.
Whoa, that's fun.
And that campsite, it was still kind of bright because we were kind of close to the city.
Yeah.
So the fact that I saw it that well, I was like, it was huge.
That's a good point. That's crazy.
Yeah.
There's a spaceship.
Yeah, so tomorrow, head back into Florence, which is the town I just came from. I know for a fact the riding should be pretty easy going. We got about, I'd say, 6 miles of double track. It's all kind of shitty. It's either really rocky or really sandy for the most part. But then we get to some of the illegal roads on the wrong side of a canal that we need to talk to John about. And we're meeting up with John tomorrow, who is the route creator, and kind of put the bug in your ear, I guess, huh?
Yeah. I think I found out about it because he's involved with the Arizona Trail, Granite Park. He kind of plans that. And then I heard about this ride. I guess they do a ride on it every year. And a bunch of people show up.
Yeah, I'm curious to learn more about that.
I think he was trying... we'll hear from him, because I know he was sort of like keeping it on the DL, because I think like too many people were signing up, and then eventually you have to like... At some point you have to kind of make it more than just like a... People show up and...
Yeah.
It becomes like a little bit like a liability almost.
Exactly.
So then, we'll hear from him, but I know...
It'll be interesting. I'm very curious to hear how other people fare out here, and, I assume if you live in the area, it's not as extreme. I'm curious.
Yeah, it'd be cool to hear from him.
I want to hear about the trespassing signs.
Yeah, and then we pretty much, at the end of the day, it should be all pretty straightforward tomorrow. We're kind of getting closer to the city, so I think there's kind of like one, I think it's, what is it called, Santan?
Yeah.
Regional Park or National? Regional?
Santan area.
Yeah, some area. We're going to get a bit of trails in there before we kind of get into like our last canals and like roads.
Back in Queens Valley, maybe? No, that was the other one.
That's the other one.
Someone shooting guns.
Got some people shooting guns out here in the desert.
You know what I've been thinking? Texas gets a bad rap, but it's just because there's more of us. But when you come into rural Arizona or New Mexico or something, you see a lot of Trump signs.
And people shooting guns like out in the desert. Like every camp spot is like full of like whatever.
We've seen shooting ranges and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
shells.
There was a shooting range pretty close to our first campsite.
Yeah.
Because you could hear that all night too.
Yeah, I just think there's more Texans making more noise, but there's crazies everywhere.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Don't be fooled.
Yeah.
Oh man, I got chased by some gnarly dogs today.
Oh no.
Okay. So
Oh shit.
going up a hill,
What?
it was 2 medium-sized scrappy dog, like desert scrap dogs, you know?
Canyon
And
critters.
I'm telling you, man, this was was coming out of Florence.
Yeah.
And like a mile outside of Florence, after you pass the prison, there is a sign that says not a through road, 6 more miles or whatever. And these people live 2 houses from the very end of the road. And yeah, man, I went up this hill and these dogs surrounded me immediately. And I had both feet out like this. I was like, go home, you go home, no, you go. Just kidding. I was like yelling at them, go. And yeah, luckily, that's kind of my go-to. As I get big, I rammed right at one. Like I put my wheel right in them, and I don't back down. Like I go at them and I yell at them and that. And but yeah, I had to turn it up to 11 for those guys because they came. You know when they attacked right at the same time on the left and the right? You're just like, fuck.
They weren't there to mess around. They wanted to kill.
No. When luckily we will not ride past them tomorrow. We will ride. So it's interesting. There's this like road dam or something.
Okay.
So like they've like dammed off the water so people can like cross.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, you were going to do that, and then you get onto pavement. And if you went up to the hill to the right, I mean, you can see the house. We'll see it. It's right there. The dogs will probably be like barking at us, but what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Nothing.
That's crazy.
Yeah. They didn't get me though.
I usually get if I'm like riding and like going like kind of fast, I'll usually get my water bottle out and I'll squirt at them.
Yeah. Not in the desert though.
No, you can't waste water.
Yeah. I didn't bring enough water. I'm down to, I'm sipping on the last half of this liter, and then I have 1 left. So
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm almost done my 1 liter for the
I'm
morning.
Planning to have 1 liter for tomorrow. 1 liter to get us to McDonald's.
Oh man, I'm gonna smash so many McTreats.
There might be some opportunities to like refill some water and filter it. Actually, if like we really needed to.
I think we'll be fine.
I think we will.
It's gonna be so cold in the morning. It's already getting pretty nippy.
Yeah,
those planes look like they're about to hit each other. Whoa!
Do it.
Oh, maybe that's
a star.
That's a star.
But or a satellite.
Maybe
it's a satellite because it's twinkling.
So many planes. It's pretty fun to. Not so many right now, but it's just the air.
Oh, there's one right there.
The airspace here is busy. Yeah, I saw. It was so sweet when I was riding the mountain bike trails along the river. Was it the Gila or the Gia?
It's the Gila.
Gila? No.
Yeah.
Gila?
Yeah.
Gila?
Yeah, it's like the Gila National Forest.
Oh, I don't know any of this.
Yeah, someone had to tell me. I didn't just know it.
When I was riding the trails through there, I told you.
Went up to people like, yeah, I went over the Gila.
I didn't say it to anyone ever, actually, because I was embarrassed. I didn't think it was right. These super army jets flew over me at one point, like super low, like in the mountains, and they were cruising along. And
like
then
military
for
like
sure.
Jets?
Yeah, like jets.
Like fighter jets?
Fighter jet.
Oh, that's cool.
And then after that, so they're in groups of 2, and then there's another group of 2 of these slower moving. They almost look like cargo army planes. They were slower but they were flying the same route too, because I guess there's the military base in Florence. You were saying, and then this was the coolest thing. Really low to the ground, like going in the little canyon I was kind of in, or the valley. There was this army helicopter, like a medic one. It had the medic symbol on the side, and he was just cruising, like doing big turns and stuff right down near me. He was close enough that at one point I looked up at them and waved, because I feel like they probably would have seen me. Maybe not, but like I feel like I would stand out in like that little area. It was just like all very desert-like. Maybe. I don't know. I hope they saw me.
I hope they did too.
Maybe they listen to this podcast and they'll be like, "Oh man, that was me."
I hope so too. Probably hardcore mountain bikers. They're just up there watching the EZT.
Yeah.
Like they've got watch from up there.
Yeah.
That'd be so awesome.
Oh man, imagine tracking like an endurance race with like a drone. Or, like once they get good enough.
I think it might come. I've thought about this before.
Where like it just follows the first place person.
That's right.
The entire time.
They already have drone technology that follows you, right?
Yeah.
So now what is, if a race director, like you have to have track leaders, what if you have your own drone too? And like track leaders rinse them out, and now you're like watching the race in real time.
They have to improve the battery technology because current battery life on those drones suck.
Oh yeah,
it's
like
crazy.
30 minutes.
Yeah, it's like
that's like the biggest. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, why don't they should make them solar? You know,
they should, Patrick. You're right.
I'm just saying.
They'll improve them.
Yeah. Well, that's coming in the future.
Oh, that's coming.
All right.
Day 4. Good night.
Good night. Over and out. Hey, Miles.
Hello.
What do you want to talk about?
The final day of the Queen's Ransom route.
Let's do it. Last we left you, we were sitting in camp. Doing things, talking to you. What we were doing? We were talking to you.
We were talking. We were on some state trust land, I believe.
Yep. All right. So, what's the plan for today before we go back?
Like the plan, like my actual plan for today?
We just ate a damn good breakfast at First Watch, finally, after seeking out breakfast for days, trying to find a good breakfast.
We found it. It was delicious. And then now we're in a beautiful park, which seems to be your go-to thing.
Yeah, I like parks because there's always a bench and you're usually not too busy and noisy, and they're outside.
Yeah. So we're in a bench, not too far from the airport, which is, after we're done this, is where Patrick's going to take me and drop me off at the old airport.
And he has a 3-hour flight home, and I have a 17-hour drive home.
Seems fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough. I've got the endurance driving side of this. All right, so day 5. So that night, I took a bivvy, and I have the Outdoor Research Helium bivvy, I believe it's called. Brought my 30-degree bag. Definitely got down to freezing because when we woke up, there was frost and ice on everything, and I was soaking wet. My mattress that I thought we fixed wasn't exactly fixed. So halfway or different points throughout the evening, I would have to roll on my back in the bivvy. I would just like roll the whole thing over and inflate my mattress and then roll back on it. Which is partly the reason why I was getting wet. But I have swore off bivvies permanently after that. I mean, just terrible. Just a terrible existence, really.
It didn't look very fun. When I woke up, I was up a little bit before you, and I was kind of stood there watching you like roll around in your little cocoon. It didn't look ideal.
You have a picture of me, and I'm like curled up, and you can see me. Like,
yeah,
it's just a thin. I don't know. I used to kind of like that bivvy. Used it before in rain and didn't have an issue, but I had condensation. It was just soaking wet. I don't know if it was not waterproof. I know some of it was condensation, but I left like the fly thing open, the vent. I don't know. I don't like it though. No reason to repeat that. So I'll be on the hunt for. If anybody knows of a good, here's all I need. Really good, really lightweight, ultra packable, perfect for bike packing, and not a lot of money. Send me what you got.
Sounds possible.
I'll buy a used one. Maybe someone out there is like,
oh yeah,
hey, I got one in my closet. I'd sell old Patrick.
John did say that area always gets a lot, like, pretty wet. Like, there is a lot of dew. Like, we had dew in the evening, remember? Before we went to bed, everything was covered in dew. So that probably, and I think when you're in those conditions, a bivvy is just so tricky because there's no air movement inside of your cocoon because everything's just against your sleeping bag. So it gets pretty tricky. I had a lot of like condensation on the inside of my tent, and it was like vented. Like I even like used some rocks to like peg it out a little bit better too. But
how wet did you get? Would you say
Like
compared to you saw my sleeping bag
5% wet, and you got like 80% wet?
Yeah. Okay. So definitely better though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely better.
I don't think my sleeping bag was really wet at all.
Can you say what tent you were using? Is it word?
Oh yeah, no, I had just like a 1-person Big Sky International tent. So it's like a freestanding 1-person tent, and I think it weighs like just under 2 pounds. There's plenty of room in there, and it's like easy to vent out because there's like everything's. It's not like super ultralight.
It looks like a nice tent, except for
the
it
door.
turns into a swimming pool when you open it up.
Yeah, it's a little tricky. There's some things, but I'll be publishing a review on that soon.
To be announced. Let's see what else. So we woke up pretty cold morning, and we were a little. We got up and like at 7:30 and started like packing our stuff. But as anyone can probably attest, most people are just slower in the morning. It's hard to motivate yourself to. I mean, all of our gear was wet and had frost on it, and it's just not great. So we were a little bit slow, but we got rolling by what 8:30.
Yeah, probably about that.
I mean, it wasn't like that slow, but
No.
we had a goal of getting to McDonald's, which was 14 miles away, 5 of which was like dirt double track, and then we had about 9 miles of pavement to get to McDonald's breakfast, and we missed it by 10 minutes. So
I went into sport mode and tried to race ahead to get to it, but
you took a super slacked downhill mountain bike and time trialed it.
It didn't work very well. I was pretty tired. And then we went to Sonic. It had some crappy breakfast, which we regretted instantly because then we noticed that there was it's more of like a family cafe, family run cafe across the street. And then we went in there afterwards actually just to look, and it would look delicious. But
it's called the Florence Cafe, and definitely, and it's in Florence.
That's the spot.
That's the spot. We got cranberry turkey sandwiches to go. They had bacon on them, and we ate those at the bottom of the Santan trails, the trailhead there, and they were primo. Those were like lifesavers. So that's definitely the spot. And that's why I referenced breakfast list just now, is because we've kind of been lamenting our poor fortune with breakfast for days now. And anyone who bike packs can attest to the importance of a good meal.
Yeah.
It's really what motivates you, right? Like, it's the thing that you're thinking about when we were going to meet up, on night 4 and I brought the burgers, you were probably thinking of food.
Yeah.
You had water.
Yeah. I pretty much ride to eat food.
Right.
Like that's why I love these trips, because then you can we've been kind of like gorging for the past 24 hours since we got back, and I'm still hungry. I just had a big breakfast, a ginormous pancake and some eggs and bacon, and I'm already thinking about what I'm going to eat at the airport.
What do you think? What do you think you might get? What sounds good?
I don't know. I might wait till Canada and get some Tim Biebs.
Tell everybody what Tim Biebs are. That's
Justin Bieber and Tim Hortons, which is like a big, well-loved coffee chain in Canada, and they collaborated on some Timbits, which are like donut holes or whatever you guys call them.
Yeah, donut holes.
Donut holes, and then they're just delicious Timbits.
I just think it's so cute that
Tim
Justin Bieber partnered up with Tim Hortons.
It's a pretty funny video. There's funny ads.
There's a train.
There's a train in
Choo-choo.
the background.
Man, this park has it all.
This park does have it all.
This is why I pick parks. It's fun.
This is day 5 of our route on the Queen's Ransom, or it was. It isn't today. It was day 5.
Yeah.
And it's definitely the most straightforward. So pretty much we got into Florence, had breakfast, and then you're sort of zipping along on canal trails and double track beside the highway for a good portion of really all the day.
Yeah.
Most of the day.
Let's talk about that one section. So they're coming out of Florence. You're going to get on an interesting intersection of canals that I think we navigated quite easily, but you just have to that would be the tip for this route is pay attention to the map pretty closely.
Yeah, it's
because
important.
With the single track, there's lots of trails out there. With the canals, you need to be on the left or the right side. There's many different canals you could be on. So yeah, you just have to have whatever device you have open and paying attention. But it's pretty straightforward. In this one section coming out of Florence, he puts you on a fast 2-lane highway with no shoulder, and it took us a few minutes to realize that there's double track road right next to it, and you definitely want to be on that because it's a really heavily trafficked, not fun to ride on road.
Yeah, it's not super exciting riding on the double track right beside the highway, but it's definitely a heck of a lot safer, which is really the whole point.
And the reason why we met with John last night. We met up for a drink and had some food here in Phoenix, and got a chance to chat with him about the route and kind of get his thoughts, and he got ours. And one of the things that he was talking about, he had his wife drop him off in Florence and just spent, I don't know, he didn't say exactly, but he was going down a canal, there'd be a dead end. Then you go down another canal and dead end or private property or something. And so he explained that section. He's I looked for a better alternative and there wasn't one, but it's 4 miles of double track on the side.
Oh, yeah. It's not a big deal. And that also when we met up with him, and we might as well talk about that now because it's pretty interesting.
Sure.
He's put so much effort into finding all these little routes to get through. He said it's pretty much a 2-year project to figure out this loop.
Yeah.
And it is pretty dialed. I think the starting and end need a little bit of tweaking just because right now it's set up so it starts and ends at his house because it's a group ride where people they have little supply stops at people's houses and stuff.
It's a little grassroots thing that he does.
So and publishing this publicly as a route will require a little bit different of an approach. But it's clear it's wild how much stuff he links up little urban pathways and the canals and then all the mountain bike trails, which is it's crazy how much mountain bike trails we were on, really, single track trails.
Yeah, we were on a lot of single track, especially the first 3 days was heavy single track. And then from there, it kind of tapered, right?
Mm-hmm.
It became more double track and a little single track.
And then last day, so after those canals and the double track, you go into the Santan Mountain Regional Park. And that's more of a multi-use sort of trail system. There's not that many trail options in there, but we pretty much do a climb, a double track sort of single track mixed climb up. I think that's the Santan Trail.
Yeah.
And then we took Dynamite down the other side, which pretty much leads you right back into
whatever town he lives
Queens
in.
Valley?
No.
That's the other place.
No, that's where that golf course was.
Well, it's
it
sort of
Mesa?
near Mesa area.
We keep saying Mesa.
We just say Mesa because it sounds
I
safe.
can probably look on my...
Yeah.
I can just look. Keep talking.
Yeah, and then that single track was fun. It was we hit it just at the right time, and John was explaining this, that we were pretty lucky because on the weekends, that area would get super, super busy, especially in the mornings.
Yeah, the Santan single track ending on that was quite epic. And that downhill, I remember specifically hoping that the downhill coming back into town, whatever town that is, was going to be pretty baller.
Yeah.
And it was.
Yeah, it was super fun.
Only had one e-bike. No, 2 e-bikes.
2 e-bikes. You could just it was kind of the first time actually in a long time where you could really let off the brakes and just fly a little bit because it's kind of wide. It was wider trails because I think horseback riders and hikers are using them as well. But it was great. And then what is it called?
Man, I don't know. It's close to Chandler. I think it's in Chandler or Gilbert.
Yeah,
but it's southeast of Phoenix essentially by about 40 minutes.
I guess it's just a community outside of those places.
Yeah, it's just a small little community.
That's the far east side, east of Phoenix, pretty much, almost on the outskirts before kind of the big residential areas taper off into nothingness.
Yeah,
and then after Santan, really just links into bike paths.
And to talk a little bit about the Queen's Ransom that he does, we learned about it last night. It's pretty interesting and I hear that it sounds like he's pretty full, so I don't know if you how it is to like link up with him. But just in terms of, I like the event that he's doing where he has everybody. Well, you all kind of ride like the canals out of town. You get about 20 miles in, and then he says, "All right, if you want to go fast, see you at camp. If you want to go slow, we're gonna go slow in the back and whatever." Everybody kind of goes their own pace, but then you meet up at the campsite, and then the next day it's the same thing. You wake up, you're like, "All right, if you want to go fast, see you at camp." And if you want to go slow, you can, or whatever speed you want to go. And it's pretty neat because during the day you get to approach the trail any way you want to, and at night you get to hang out and talk about it, which I love.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
And it's interesting. Like I manage the events calendar on bikepacking.com, and like there's not a lot of events that follow that.
Right.
Like, and he's like, it's explicit. Like this is how he wants to do it.
Yep.
It's not like just a race, or it's not just a group ride. Because he was explaining like, even like he's done events. John has done events. Like Kurt, used Kurt Refsnyder as an example, and like he started the ride with like Kurt, which is like cool. Or like these other riders that you're like, oh, cool, like nice to meet you, and then they're gone, and then you don't really see them ever again.
Right.
And a lot of events don't even have like something at the end either. Like it's kind of like you're finished and then you go home, which is pretty cool. And I imagine we'll see more events like these popping up, especially with like COVID and stuff, and people staying a little bit closer to home potentially. Although like I'm not a good example of that right now. Yeah,
but in your
cool.
defense, if anyone's going to throw shade on Miles, he hasn't traveled outside of Canada or Powell River in almost 2 years. This is the first time.
Yeah.
And he was very careful about it.
I was very careful.
Yeah.
I think I'm the only one who wears a mask actually in America.
Yeah, he might be the only one.
It's
At least in Arizona or Phoenix.
Yeah, it's cool.
I wanted to circle back to John real quick and kind of echo what you were saying about. I was really impressed with how much work he's put in, and it was really fun for us to come, Miles from Canada, me from Texas, and ride a route that a local has built. And the interesting thing is, like, the locals kind of know all the rules, but we don't. So we had an opportunity to kind of, maybe find ways to improve the route to make it more obvious for people who are not familiar with, this area. But John has put in like an amazing amount of work and really, I like and appreciate everything that he's been doing out here. And I just learned last night that he's the new AZT event director, race director, whatever his official title is, as of 2 years ago. So I'm a little late to that party, but yeah, he's the man down here.
He knows like every little bit of the trail, and it's cool to see that. I think he was saying that he eliminated 100 miles, not 100 miles, 100 miles of pavement from the AZT.
Oh yeah, like in the first year, it was insane. Okay, you were talking AZT.
Yeah,
sorry.
I switched over to AZT.
Yeah, like I think he said 190 miles of pavement in the first year. He was the race director of the AZT. He like just went out and found all these routes. I think he was already pretty familiar with the route because he's ridden it so many times. And it's I'm like, you did that in a year?
Yeah, he's hustling.
That's an 800-mile route in 1 year.
And the cool thing is that the Queens Ransom route hasn't changed really much at all since it started. Because when did he first do it? Was that 2015 or something?
Right.
He said?
And that's when we found out that he put 2 years of work into it. He's like, I worked on it 2 years before anyone ever saw it. So when it came out, it was pretty okay.
Yeah. Well, now it's like it is pretty public, to be honest. It's not like a secret because it's on like Trail Forks. Like it's on the app. It's like a route, which is like that's very accessible for people.
Yeah.
But I think it's. Yeah, I think it's more like I think locals know about it more than anyone else. It's cool. It's very unique, and I think it's going to be super exciting to have it up as a guide at some point. Hopefully soon.
No, it definitely needs to be a published route. So like, since it is published, or public, it's on Ride with GPS. You can find it. It's on Trail Forks. You can find it there. What advice should we give to people that might come out and ride it before it? Because if bikepacking.com puts it on, it's going to be very well laid out. You're going to have a really good idea of what to expect. But as it is right now, you look at elevation profile, you look at squigglies on a map, you look at distance, and then maybe listen to this podcast.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you just have to understand the terrain that the trails actually follow here, and like give that a good like thinking, because it goes on like the Arizona Trail, which is like, it's hard, and there's like some good climbing, and like there's a lot of single track, and it's kind of like there's a lot of smooth stuff, but there's also some chunky stuff. So I think you just have to be prepared for that. Really, beyond that, it's like logistically very simple. It's a loop that starts and ends near an airport, the Mesa Airport, I think, right? And it's not overly complicated, but it is challenging. I think especially for people outside of like Arizona and aren't used to like Arizona single track, which is like rocky and chunky and like hard on your body. Everything's pokey and prickly. I don't think it was, the logistics didn't really like mess with us or anything. It was mostly just,
I think preface that by saying paying close attention to your GPS in the beginning. With the canals, we got turned around a little bit and just confusion. But again, once we figured out that we just need to pay attention to the map closely, and John was like, zoom in to like 200 feet, like, and like pay attention. So yeah, other than that, once we had that, it was like very straightforward.
Yeah, it's not unlike most routes,
Yeah.
really. Like there's no huge like surprises. It's as long as you do your research.
Well, I
don't know.
I would be a little more cautionary, especially since it's in the desert, paying attention to, I mean, like, you know,
but every route in the desert,
right.
Fool's Loop, north of the city, same dangers, same complications.
I'm applying this to every desert loop. Yeah. I think it's just worth mentioning. Again, I mean, that article or that comment that was on like the website about people getting in over their heads,
Yeah.
And like we went slower than we were anticipating going. You know, like that's the reality. We had a route picked out, and almost every the last day we kind of made good time, right? Day 5 we made good time, but every other day we were slower than we kind of thought, and getting into camp later.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and it's like this time of year too is tricky because we were thinking about this. Like we didn't really have a lot of daylight to work with.
Yeah,
like if you did it, they'd do the group ride in March, and doing like March or April would like probably give you another like hour or two of daylight, which would be super helpful. Like it'd be pretty nice to have another hour.
Excellent point. Yeah, that was part of the problem. I mean, we were getting up at 6:30 a.m. and getting going and running out of daylight, and we didn't bring lights because we weren't planning on riding in the dark. Honestly, and we've talked about this too. Miles and I both could have done a better job researching this route prior to coming. We're both just really busy, and we looked at stuff. We knew our POIs, we knew our distance and all, but we could have looked a little closer. I mean, some of the trails are on Trail Fork. They're rated as black. So you're riding, a full rig bike on black single track mountain bike trails. But it's not all like that. But there are portions that are like that. Mm-hmm. And it's a decently challenging route. And we talked with John last time. We asked him what he felt like it should be rated, which is a difficult thing to do. But, we'll do it anyway. He said 7 to 8, and I think we all kind of just agreed
out of 10.
Yeah, 7 to 8, 7 or 8 out of 10. So we'll call it a 7.5. That's fair. 7.5. So it's a decently difficult route. The resupplies are there, but you have to be very smart about your resupplies, especially water. That section on day 4 is pretty remote out there, right, Miles? You rode that one, so
yeah, definitely. Yeah, you definitely have to think each day and like maybe even further than that in advance, like when you get to a resupply, and make sure you have enough. We were lucky because like it wasn't that hot during the day, so we like weren't chugging back like tons of water. Like we definitely weren't drinking enough water,
but we could kind of conserve.
We could conserve and not like pay too much.
Yeah.
So that wasn't too bad. Yeah, and like I agree with that. I think like considering like so I just used the Fool's Loop as an example, as like something like similar terrain, but like slightly more gravel bike friendly. And it's like, it's hard in like a lot of the same ways. And I think that is probably like a 6 or a 7 out of 10 difficulty on the website.
Well, I think what we said last night was that you should describe the Queen's Ransom route as as a training ride for the AZT, and many people use it as a training ground for the AZT, and some of the trails are the same. So yeah, when you're thinking of like difficulty level, that's the kind of riding that you should expect to be doing. Yeah. And just know what kind of where you're at.
Yeah.
And I'd also like I got in a little bit over my head, and so if you're smart about it, we had some challenges, like little stuff that came up, I guess, but there's resupplies along the route. I was able to like get off the route and into a town and get back on the route like easily. You know what I'm saying? Like there's options,
Totally. I think before it gets actually remote and hard, there's a lot of options to like sneak off the route for a bit if you need a break, and then meet up. And then you can kind of like gauge whether you're ready to do like the Arizona Trail section from Picket Post to Kelvin.
Which is essentially what I did. So I did like day one, whatever. And like right before we got to the AZT, I went down to Florence and then backtracked and met you at campsite. I think we probably already talked about all that. But
yeah, but it's good. It is good to know, because really
I'll publish what I did. I did like 190 miles out of the like 230, and turned out to be good. I needed that like essentially a rest day, quote unquote. I was still on my bike, but like it like let me do that day 5, 55 miles, pretty good time. Feeling pretty good.
Yeah,
it's fun. I had a great time, man. I love an adventure. I'm not too much of I love to do the route. I really am a little bit bummed that I wasn't able to like do the climb and the epic descent and all that stuff. But at the same time, I'm equally like glad that I didn't, because I wasn't there to where like I would have got out there and be like, Miles, help. I don't know. It's just, there's no reason for me to push it, So I feel good about what I did, and yeah, I had a great time, man. Absolutely loved the weather and the adventure. It's a beauty. Oh, I wanted to talk about on day 4 where we camped, that South Butte. That's what it's called, the South Butte.
Yeah.
Just really pretty, that area coming out of on the morning of day 5.
Butte, isn't it Butte?
No.
Is it pronounced Butte?
I think it's Butt. Maybe it's Butte. I don't know.
Crested Butte.
I have dyslexia,
Crested
so like
Butte.
Sometimes when I see stuff,
Isn't Crested Butte spelled the same way?
Yeah, but I thought it was spelled Butt, but it's probably not. It's probably Butte, and I just like am being dumb. South Butte.
Who knows? A Canadian Texan walking into the forest,
walking to the desert. So we're just saguaro. Anyway, it's a really pretty section, and the Santan single track was really a great way to finish it out too. All right, anything else you want to say about the trail? Actually, don't let me just cut you off.
I don't think so. I think we've covered it.
I feel good. I think that's good.
Yeah.
What about any gear you brought that you didn't need, or something you wish you had brought?
I wish I would have brought more toilet paper and a little thing of like soap, because I ran out of toilet. I have Crohn's, and then when I was eating a lot of funky food on this trip, and like those Sonic breakfast burritos definitely didn't help. And I ran out of toilet paper on day 4, I think, or maybe in the morning of day 5 or something. And then it would have been nice to have a little thing of soap as well, because I don't. Have we talked about me shitting my chamois yet?
Oh yeah, we got to talk about our butts.
So on the day, Picket Post to Kelvin, after the big climb up to the AZT, the new AZT water cache, in the morning, I like woke up pretty early, and then I was still like quite tired. So I was like, I'll try and go back to sleep. I actually put on a Bikes or Death podcast, and then I fell asleep again.
Put you right to sleep.
Yeah, and then I woke up and I needed to go to the washroom, but I didn't. And that's the first rule of Crohn's life, is that you should probably just go to the washroom. And I didn't, and then I fell asleep, and I woke up again, and I knew I needed to get to the washroom in 3 seconds, and it takes probably 10 seconds to get to my tent. So I had a little, I don't know why I had my chamois on still. I don't know when this was. It might have been in the night sometime. Either way, I had a little poopy in my chamois, which was embarrassing, but it's a good thing I was the only one up on top of that mountain. And there was running water, so I actually cleaned it up there. But then for the rest of the trip, I just wore my like synthetic boxer briefs, which were like really, I only brought to like sleep in. So they were kind of loose fitting and like they weren't ideal on my butt. I think because also my stomach was so bad and I was like going to the washroom so often and like wiping my butt so often and using like wet wipes on my butt so often that like everything was like not very happy, which is funny. Because it's like, well, it's kind of funny because it's because it's just like such a simple thing, but like,
oh, I see what you mean.
And then like things just all of a sudden like kind of get out of control.
It is those little things. It's like death by 1,000 cuts, you know?
Oh yeah, it's like, oh, I pooped in my chamois. Now I can't really wear my chamois before I clean it because that would probably be gross.
So you would have liked to have had soap to clean your chamois and
oh yeah, because if I had some
and
soap,
clean your butt.
Yeah, and
you clean everything.
Yeah, it could clean all sorts of different things.
Yeah, I've been dealing with like chafing lately, which is like a new thing. And so I brought, what did we bring? Lotrimin. We went to like Walgreens and picked up.
Yeah, like a hydrocortisone cream.
Yeah, we were both using that, and I think it worked pretty well.
Yeah,
I didn't have any issues.
Yeah, that stuff's good.
No saddle sores or anything, no chafing, but I did get anally penetrated by my saddle on one of the single tracks. This is worth mentioning because I've ridden my bike my whole life, and this is a once in a lifetime opportunity here.
Never say never.
Never say never. Yeah, anyway, I was just like, it's one of those like steep descents that goes like right back up, and there was a big rock at the bottom, and I don't know if it's in a shadow or I'm just a dummy, but I square hit that rock and lunged forward on my bike, and then whenever I like my momentum like shot me back with like, you know, the shocks like compress and like shoot you back, that front of my saddle went right in my butt, and Miles almost saw a grown man cry.
I was barely concerned. I've never seen I haven't seen like an adult human in so much like obvious like discomfort in a really long time, like let alone Patrick. So it was super. I was laughing, but also making sure.
I was laughing and crying at the same time.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was funny.
It's awkward. I was like, like I've never had that before. It's new.
At least the one benefit, and we were thinking about this earlier, is that he rides a Brooks Cambium saddle, so the natural rubber is probably one of the safer things that could enter your anus.
Yes.
While riding. So
a pro for Brooks Cambium saddles, really. I'm going to reach out for a sponsorship.
Safe for the butthole.
Safe for the butt. I'm going to start lubing up the front a little bit, and that way
always,
a little safer entry.
Always dip the nose of your saddle in Vaseline before you ride.
What if Brooks like sent it with like one little vat of Vaseline? Yep, so that's our butt stories.
Yeah.
And my butthole was a little sore for the rest of the trip, but I'm fine. Thanks for your prayers. Favorite part of the trip?
Definitely Arizona Trail pick-a-post to Kelvin. It was so good. And
Is that the downhill?
That's the big climb and also like a meandering downhill.
Okay.
Yeah, that whole Arizona Trail section is just unbelievable. It was so crazy.
Man. Thanks for making me regret my life.
It was the
choices.
best thing I've ever done in my life.
Why? Don't be me, folks. Do picket posts.
What was your favorite
my
section?
favorite? Man, what that hotel? What was it called? Best Western. Damn, that thing was nice.
What about Gold Canyon trails? You like those? We were having a lot of fun in there.
Yeah, Gold Canyon was sweet. I really liked, that double track when we got into that double track on day 3. All that double, like that's home for me. That's like what I'm used to is riding double track or gravel roads. Yeah, I feel like I could do that like all day long, and so I was like quite at home and happy there. The single track stuff, I was just like, I don't know, I was just getting beat up all the time. Just kidding. I totally rocked it. Like so hard. We're endurance athletes.
Yeah,
I can't think of anything that I didn't wear or I didn't use. I had a couple extra like snacks left over, but I think that I don't always, it's like I don't want to like be depleted. I don't want to be on empty coming in exactly. So I think I pretty much used everything. I brought a titanium cup that I was going to like use for product shots for Bikes for Death, and I never like took it out and took pictures of it. So I carried that stupid thing around the whole time. But other than that, man, I'm happy. I enjoyed the trip. I love the route. I love the Santan single track. That's some of the coolest single track, and it's only 7 miles, so it's just a fun way to end the route. Oh, but I will say, Rock Guys, Mr. Fusion saddle bag thing, excellent.
Yeah.
You know, and Miles had then I'll let you say what you had, but that it's the first time I use it, and Greg and Rock Guys pride themselves on purpose-built bikepacking bags for single track. They test it there in Pisgah, North Carolina, and we rock the shit out of our bikes. I mean, we really that's about as gnarly. Well, maybe a little gnarlier, but I mean, it's pretty gnarly. You know, on full rigs, kitted out, and it's so nice to not have a saddlebag that's like bouncing around, sliding back and forth. I really enjoyed that. I just felt like the whole bike was just one unit. Everything was just tight, and I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I used a tumbleweed T-rack mounted like on an angle, so then I could mount a dry bag on top of that, and it's kind of snuck underneath my dropper post, and that works really well. It's kind of when I have to carry like a little bit more gear than what a dropper post compatible bag will allow. And then I usually use this little rack and a dry bag setup, and I find it super easy to load, unpack. It's it's a stable setup as you can get, and it has like some little bosses on the side of it too, so I could mount like extra water or some other stuff, which I probably would have done if it was any hotter, just to carry some either more food or more water, because we only carried 3 liters each. And like that was good, but if it got hotter during the days, it would have been tricky.
Yeah, it was kind of a little close, but we were okay.
Yeah.
Dropper post. I think that's a tip for this trail, and I think your setup is probably the best setup for. I don't know if that bike was the best bike for the trail, but having a dropper post and having the rack with the bag, because for anyone if you don't know, you can't put a saddlebag on a dropper post because it's not going to raise back up and can't.
You can put little ones. You just can't put
little
heavy
ones. Yeah, you
can put some.
Rock Guys has a gondola, and there's some other ones out there.
J-Packs. I have a J-Packs one that's pretty big, actually.
Okay.
They work. Some dropper posts are better than others.
Right.
So like, there's some dropper posts that just like won't push it up, and they're kind of like slowly squinging their way up.
Yeah. So do your own homework, but a dropper post on this trail wouldn't you agree, would be pretty handy?
Oh yeah, I would almost take like a dropper post over a front fork in most situations, to be honest.
Yeah.
I would rather have like plus size tires and a dropper post than front suspension and no dropper post.
I think that was part of my challenge with the kind of the awkwardness of my bike and not being able to maneuver some of the trails was the lack of dropper post. It was just, I found it getting in the way quite often, which is uncommon. I don't face that kind of terrain in Texas and a lot of places that I've ridden. So yeah, it's hot.
Hey, I'm sweating.
I'm like baking in the sun right now.
Can I go to Canada now?
Can I go back to Texas? I can't wait to drive. Yeah, man. I don't know. Are we done?
I think so.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Our TED Talk. This has been a Canadian and a Texan go to Arizona bikepacking. Thank you for listening. Podcast. Okie dokie pokey. Thank you everybody for tuning in to today's episode. I thoroughly enjoyed the trip. I enjoyed the process of figuring out as we went. Like I said on the podcast, I love a good adventure. So even when things go wrong, or I often say when things go wrong, that's when the adventure really begins, right? So it's fun in a way to just have these challenges, these things that come up that may be unexpected. In this case, I was just not cut out to do the whole route and had to make some moves and figure it out on the fly. And yeah, Miles and I, we worked together very well. You sat down, looked at the maps, like boom, boom, boom. This is what we're going to do. Knock it out, knock it out. And we both had our plans, and we did it. And it all kind of went off without a hitch. I mean, aside the fact that I didn't do the full route, but I mean, if you go looking for adventure, don't be surprised when you find it. And we had a great adventure. So I can't recommend that route enough. Definitely head over to bikepacking.com or check our show notes or bikesfordeath.com and just search for the Queen's Ransom route. And a big shout out to John Schillings for putting together a banger route and not getting us too lost out there in the desert. Actually, didn't get us lost at all. He did a great job. The route was wonderful, and I'm happy to see it up as a published route so more people can go and enjoy it. I did notice, though, that while I was on bikepacking.com, there is a lot of vacant space on that map for Texas. They've already said that they're going to put up the East Texas Showdown route on the website. And so we're working on getting that up there. But I would sure love to see some more Texas routes on bikepacking.com. It's a big old state. It's got a lot of private land, but there's a big canvas there for people to go out and paint with their bike tires. All right, well, that is it for today's episode. Next time on the Bikes for Death podcast, I have Nickel Potter, who is the person who took the picture of the lady in the Dodge Ram in Arkansas that passed a group of cyclists and then just moments later rolled her vehicle. And the picture broke out of the cycling industry. I saw it on Reddit. It was all over the news. And I had to get Nickel on to kind of hear the story behind the picture. We had a great chat, so I'm looking forward to you checking that one out. And one other thing of note, we have I think a couple extra muggles in the web store from Amanda Panda. These are really freaking sweet. I think the two left are both the Stein style, which is kind of like a big beer mug that you would imagine getting, back in, I don't know, the 1800s. If you went into a saloon, they hand you a big old Stein and you walk around, maybe like in Germany, something like that. But I'm telling you, these things are nice. And I almost kept one for myself, but those are on the web store. We have some Volet straps and some new hats that just got delivered today. So we'll be working to get those up on the web store in the next week or so. So yeah, if you want to help support the Bikes for Death podcast and buy some swag, that would be great, because I put money into merchandise to sell it for a profit so I can keep making podcasts. So if you want to check that out, head over to bikesfordeath.com, put something in your cart, and make my day and your day. All right, that's it. Now don't forget to go ride your damn bike.
It was the middle of the night. You grabbed your knife and you held it tight. The sounds of beasts kept you awake. The sounds they made kept you afraid. In the morning, you packed your bike. Memories forgotten from the previous night. You rode faster than ever before. Was it your imagination or merely folklore? Fear turned into strength as you pushed further. Every pedal stroke, stronger and firmer. Your bike feels weightless, your legs aren't tired. You think to yourself, just a few more miles. Bikes.